The 9th ANC Provincial Elective Conference in KwaZulu-Natal has elected Siboniso Duma as its new chairperson. Nomagugu Simelane is the only woman elected in the top 5 as Deputy Chairperson, while Bheki Mtolo was elected as Provincial Secretary, Sipho Hlomuka as Deputy Provincial Secretary, and Dr. Ntuthuko Mahlaba, Provincial Treasurer. Former eThekwini Mayor Zandile Gumede and businessman Sandile Zungu declined nominations for provincial positions. Additional members for the Provincial Executive Committee will be voted in today. Now, Newzroom Afrika's Mbali Thethani is monitoring the situation at the conference at the Olive Convention Centre and joins us live now. Mbali, so the outcomes coming in early hours of this morning, Siboniso Duma winning the position of a chairperson, but what else can we expect from the remainder of the conference today?
That's right, Ndagos. Of course, we saw in the early hours of this morning Siboniso Duma being elected as the new chairperson for the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal. And when you look at the results that came through during the early hours of this morning, one would say that it is indeed a clean sweep for those who are calling themselves the Talibans during this ANC conference. And if I can just take you through the numbers in which we saw during the early hours of this morning, Siboniso winning the chairperson position by 930 votes when he went up against Sipho Hlomuka, who was indeed hoping to return to his seat as chairperson. And as well, when you look at the deputy chair, we have Nomagugu Simelane there coming in with 927 votes. The secretary, Bheki Mtolo, securing that position with 894 votes. Deputy secretary, who of course is Sipho Hlomuka, they're having 895 votes. And lastly, treasurer of the ANC here in KwaZulu-Natal, Ntuthuko Mahlaba, securing his position there for treasurer. But of course, you would know that these are people who are seen to be aligned with the likes of Zweli Mkhize, and you'd know that coming into this conference, those who are seeming to be aligned with President Cyril Ramaphosa is, of course, Sipho Hlomuka. So it is quite a concern, especially when you look at the trajectory of the ANC's conferences going into that December conference. And, of course, trying to secure KZN when Cyril Ramaphosa looks to have a second term in the ANC, if he's not backed up by this province, is something that would be of a concern to him. But let's take a listen to what the newly elected chairperson had to say, because one would say that it was really a divided grouping here, some calling themselves the Talibans and the others calling themselves the Ankoles, when it comes to the unity for this province and what the results of this conference then means.
Let us also highlight what has been emphatically made by our TG, that in the ANC there is no winner, and the spirit of victors and which doesn't exist in our province. The issue of unity will prevail at all material time. I think we are all aware of what transpired in the last local government election. So we will hit the ground running. We will ensure that we unify our people. We will make sure that we go back to the society, embrace almost all the issues that need to be addressed. We must thank the role that has been played by the outgoing PC there by Sipho Hlomuka, who's the former chairperson, who's currently the premier of KwaZulu-Natal. So he's our comrade, committed to himself, they've done a sterling job, and the conference is the true reflection of that.
Coming out from this conference, unity is quite important for this province, that it also looks at retaining its position when come the 2024 elections. But you would know that when you see factional groupings, especially in elections of this magnitude, the likes of positions like Sipho Hlomuka come and, they become threatened, especially by another factional group, because one would say that two centers of power becomes a problem. So it will be quite interesting to see that in the near future we won't be seeing, any purging of members of the MEC, as well as the likes of Sihle Zikalala retaining his position in this province as the Premier. Of course, when you look at the 2024 elections and when you look at the analysis being done, the ANC is something that comes out a lot is indeed, questions around whether the ANC will be able to retain its power, especially in the likes of this province, that has faced a number of problems around COVID-19. We've also seen that July unrest taking place in this province, and at the same time, those floods that also took place, of course, there in Ntokozo. So it is quite a very interesting outlook that one can expect. But coming into the program of today, we also know that as much as we've seen the top 5 being voted into this province, we are also expecting that PEC members, the nominations to also then begin. And then just before the close of business today, we are also then expected to see that announcement being done. But confirming just yesterday that President Cyril Ramaphosa is someone who's also then set to close off this conference. And of course, that will only happen much later on today in Ntokozo.
Well, Mbali, thank you so much. We will, of course, continue to monitor developments out in KZN this morning, especially, as you've mentioned, throughout that nomination process for PEC members.